There you are. On the run. He's over there. Put a spotlight on him. And helicopters are flying overhead. And you look as you're surrounded by the military, by the police, by doctors. And they all start walking towards you, each one holding a syringe, because you are the last fat person on planet Earth. No! That's one way to start off an episode. And then we take a look at another story today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. Hope you guys had an awesome weekend. Today's a bit of a odd episode because I'm having some serious computer problems, and what that means is I don't have access to 95% of the stuff that I normally use. Now, obviously, I think I still have access to the music. It's this whole stupid Microsoft OneDrive glitch that is not allowing me to modify files or to move files, and I'm having to do it's insane. The amount of time that I've spent troubleshooting it, and now I'm in the process of just doing a bunch of other technical stuff. And I have never brought in a computer to a shop or a store or Geek Squad or anything for a software issue. Hardware issues, yes, all the time, but I'm very tempted to, but I think I got a handle on it. However, it's going to take days to get it fixed. So I have the stories I'm going to present to you for this week. I think it'll take that long because I have to download all this stuff from OneDrive. I've never had this problem before. I don't know what the switch was. Apparently it's pretty common. It's a glitch with OneDrive. You know, it is something I have to deal with. So I don't even know really what we're covering this week. We are going to do real episodes. I'm not going to be blathering on about random stuff all week, but I don't know what we're going to do. I literally will be feeling it out for the next few episodes. I have, instead of 30 stories to choose from, 7. If that's right, if that. So I don't even really have access to a lot of my Patreon list, to my shout-out stuff. This, I guess, is my fault for having it on OneDrive. On my old computer, I'm not even going to bore you with the stupid technical details anymore. Let's go ahead and get this party started. Now, I do have the name of one Patreon supporter. He's our newest, the guy in the group. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for Soupy Poopy Pants. Woohoo, yeah, wee! Coming on in, you can hear the slosh. You can hear the Soupy Poopy Pants walking into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. As long as he cleans up after himself, I don't care. Soupy Poopy Pants is our latest Patreon supporter. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show through the Patreon or the merch store, I totally understand. I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. I have a Soupy story to tell. I didn't actually witness this, but it's stuck in my mind. I remember when I was in high school, I had a buddy who knew a guy. This is best stories, right? This guy was playing basketball for his high school team. We'll call the guy Johnny. Johnny was playing basketball during a game. It wasn't practice or anything like that. Yo, Johnny, pass the pill, pass the pill. Johnny passes the ball, dribbling it. The other player was like, oh, I thought I was actually going to get some ecstasy. Oh, okay. I guess I'll just make a shot with this other pill. And, they're just playing a game of basketball. You got a ref, you got an audience there, everything like that. Coach is like, yeah, keep passing that pill, keep passing that pill. Well, during a particularly aggressive play, Johnny, I guess, was jumping up in the air to grab the ball or to shoot the ball or something like that. That doesn't really matter. What matters is what was going on beneath him. As Johnny was jumping up to shoot or catch a ball or to make a drug deal, to pass a pill to an addict, a player on the opposing team jumped up as well, and Johnny took a knee right to the ball sack. And he immediately, falls down. You don't care what's going on at that point. You're like, am I playing football? Am I playing cricket? I don't care. I just took a knee to the testicles, and he is groaning in pain, obviously, and he kind of just hobbles off and sits down on the bench. Now, the friend of the friend was on this basketball team as well, and he goes, we, kept playing basketball. We're not going to call the game just because a dude got hit in the nuts. And Johnny, while he was in a lot of pain, you would imagine he would have been in more, because what's going on. He's just sitting on the bench for a while, and then, it's halftime, or whatever it's called in basketball. Time to go to the locker room, and everyone goes in the locker room, and Johnny goes in there. Everyone's like, dude, are you doing okay? He's like, yeah, a little sensitive. I got hit in the nutsack with a knee. Thanks for asking, by the way. But, I'll be okay. And at that point, Johnny takes his clothes off. They're like, what are you doing? We're not even doing showering right now. Maybe this happened at the end of the game. Because I don't think you take a shower in the middle of a basketball game. You're like, guys, we're doing really poorly. We need to work on our defense. But first, everyone soap up. I don't think you take a shower during the basketball game. Here's the thing. I don't remember it doesn't matter either. It doesn't matter when they took a shower. But later on, at some point, they are showering in the gym. Or not in the gym, in the locker room. And Johnny takes his clothes off, and the other players gasp. The friend of the friend being one of these players went, oh! Because at that point, they realized that one of Johnny's testicles had exploded. He took a knee so hard that one of his balls blew up. And despite there being a lot of nerve endings down there when you take initial damage, apparently if you have a testicle explode, it's not as painful as you would imagine it to be. Because he wasn't screaming in pain for the rest of the game. He's all, ah! I mean, he was uncomfortable, but one of his testicles blew up. And the buddy said, he goes, we looked at him and we all realized something was wrong immediately. And they said the reason why was because his ball sack looked like, and this term has always stuck with me, it looked like if you put soup in a bag. It's like Soupy Poopy Pants. It might be that player. He's like, oh, my secret shame admitted on Dead Rabbit Radio. He goes, you could tell a lot of fluid was sloshing around in his testicle, which was still intact. It was just the ball sack had exploded. He goes, it looked like you had a bag full of soup and you were watching as everyone's vomiting. They're like, oh, we hope Jason gets access to his computer again. Oh, please, whatever horrible thing has happened. Let him get his notes. Let him have a more structured show. Soup in a bag. That's always reminded me when anyone ever mentions bags or soup. I go, oh, yes, those memories. The man, yeah, and apparently one of his testicles had exploded and you can see it sloshing around in his ball sack. I always wondered if it was soup. I guess you could try this out. You soup in a Ziploc bag or soup in a paper bag, because they would be different consistencies, different sloshing. But anyway, so yeah, Soupy Poopy Pants reminded me of that story. All right. I might have even told that story before in the podcast. If anyone has weak stomachs, you'll be like, oh yeah, that was episode 332. I vomited during that one as well. The first time you brought it up. Soupy Poopy Pants, let's go ahead and get the episode officially started. I'm going to toss you the keys. Let's go classic. I'm going to toss you the keys to the good old-fashioned Jason Jalopy. Everyone climb on board this lovable old hunk of junk. As Soupy Poopy Pants fires it up, we're leaving behind Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Why don't you drive us all the way out to the future? The near future, I'd say. Continuing from the beginning, now we're the scientists. And we're standing in a laboratory, and there's this guy in a cage. But it's like stainless steel. It's like a medical cage. We're not barbarians. It's an obese man. It's an obese man in this cage. And we're all very slender. We're looking around. We're like, oh, we all lost some weight. We're all like touching our tummies. We're touching each other's tummies. We're like, ooh, rubbing them like Care Bears. Inside that cage, ladies and gentlemen, is the last overweight human on the planet. And he's like, get me out of here. I'm not a monster. We're like, we never said you were, sir. We're just pointing out that the other 8 billion people on this planet are not overweight. They're not fat. and we're here to help you. And he goes, no, I don't want your drugs. I don't want your miracle cure. He's doing air quotes during that, so we know. It's like, oh, I thought he actually wanted it. Oh, no, air quotes, he doesn't. I don't want it. And we're like, sir, you just have to understand. And at this point, we all got needles in our hand. And he's like, no, he's sticking him into the cage. He's all breaking our arms. There's probably a better way to do this. I think we should probably just gas him, knock him out, and then inject him. But he's fighting us off with these needles. And in each of these needles is Ozempic. I don't think you can give a fat man 50 doses. He's all, wee! He shrinks super fast. Here's the thing. I want to talk about this. And this is a topic I did plan on talking about. Well, eventually, one of us gets a lucky blow, sticks that needle right into that man, and he's freaking out. But it's too little too late, sir. You now have Ozempic in you. And he's all, and he just kind of sits down. He's like, oh, well, it was worth the fight. It's done. The damage. You got this stuff in me. I didn't want it, but it's in me. And we're all like pulling our broken arms out of the cage. We're nursing them. And I go, okay, guys, let's leave him be. He truly is the last fat man on planet Earth. So then we leave that room and we're walking around this huge medical facility. Like, do you have anything that'll instantly cure a broken arm? I go, what? What do you think we are? Doctors? We keep walking through. You notice me, I'm injecting myself with something. I go, ooh, that feels good. And I start juggling. My arm works just fine now. We're walking through this underground medical facility and doing all sorts of tests. I'll be honest, this is the fourth time I've tried telling this story. It just went on and on and on. It wasn't very entertaining. I think the information's really cool, but I just haven't been able to tell it in an entertaining way. So I've wasted an hour already recording it, and I can't use any of it. It just goes on for too long. Let's try it for this fourth time. We leave behind this man. He's asleep. He has Ozempic coursing through his body. I go, he won't be fat much longer. Also, I mean, we could have just left him in the cage for a while and not fed him. That would have worked too, but let's go back to my office. So we're sitting in my office, and I go, you remember the old days when 70% of American adults were overweight? And you're like, yeah, I do remember that. That wasn't very long ago. And I go, no, it wasn't. You look at my calendar here. It's only the year 2035. A mere 10 years ago, the majority of American adults were overweight or obese. But then everything changed. And I have a little slideshow. You're like, dude, we've lived through this. You don't need to tell us all this stuff. Oh, well, let's just pretend you don't know what's happened in the past 10 years. And I'm explaining it to you. Once the weight loss shot became readily available, we started to see change, slowly at first. I'm trying to, wait, this is confusing. Are we in the future? Are you telling us the past? Okay. This is my prediction for the next 10 to 15 years of human life. Because I think right now, the world is going through two major shifts. AI and the weight loss shot. I do think we are about to see some profound changes in human biology and our mental health as well. So now we're back in time. We're not in the future, and I'm now predicting things. That might be an easier way to explain it. This is my prediction. Right now, if you want to get on the weight loss shot, you either need to have access to money or your health insurance covers it. But most health insurance companies do not cover the weight loss shot. Usually you already have to have a diagnosis of diabetes or a diagnosis of sleep apnea. Then your insurance will cover it. If your insurance doesn't cover it, you got to pay out of pocket. It's about $500 a month for Zepbound, and pretty soon Ozempic and Mounjaro, or I think that's what the other one's called, they're going to start selling their doses at Costco for $500. You have to get a doctor's prescription still. But for $500 cash, no credit cards. No credit cards. It's all underground. You have to meet a guy in the parking lot of Costco named Jimbo to buy it. $500 a month or your insurance covers it. So right now you either have access to the medical care, like it's been prescribed to you and your insurance will cover it, or you have cash or money to buy it. But what's going to happen is eventually the insurance companies are going to say, listen, we can give these people this shot. We can take a guy who's overweight or obese, bring him down to a healthy BMI, and save a ton of money on the back end. No more CPAP machines. No more expensive heart surgeries. No more devices. No more organ failure. No more any of that stuff. The number 2 cause of death in the world is obesity-related illnesses. The insurance companies are going to look at their spreadsheets and go, we spend more money now and save millions down the line. They all realize that. The insurance companies realize that, but they are very short term. A lot of corporations are very, very short term. But once one insurance company does it, the rest will follow. So then it won't be an issue of money. Everyone who has medical insurance will be able to afford these weight loss drugs. It'll have a $40 copay or something like that. People probably spend more on their streaming services than they would spend on this drug. So you're going to see a lot more people get on it because it's affordable. So right there, you're going to see a sizable reduction, no pun intended, a sizable reduction of the overweight population of the world. It will almost strictly be relegated to, do you have access to the medical care? It won't be a money thing. But then, and I think this is all going to happen in fairly short order. Right now, and this has been the last few companies I've worked for, when you get medical insurance, one of the questions they ask is, do you use nicotine products? Do you smoke? I don't know if they include vaping, but I know they include cigarettes. If you choose to smoke, your health insurance is more expensive than someone who does not smoke by quite the magnitude, because the insurance companies say we're gonna spend a lot more money on you because you're choosing to smoke, so you're gonna have to pay us more money. And that causes a lot of people to quit. That's what they're going to do with being overweight as well. It'll be a choice for a couple years, but then soon the insurance companies will say, listen, we'll give you this weight loss shot at a very, very reduced price. If you choose not to take the shot every week, you're going to pay more for health insurance. If you choose to be obese and we're offering you a way out, you're going to pay an extra $100, $200 a month. And people, when faced with that choice, there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to take the shot. But when faced with that choice, you're going to have even more people decide to take the shot. Because they have to. It will get to the point, and I believe in the next 10 to 15 years, that seeing a obese person, especially obese people, but an obese person in public will be rare. And people will look at, and I think overweight as well. I mean, it's always a tough thing. Obviously, like, I think of obesity over 300 pounds. I'm over 300 pounds. I'm obese. Overweight can mean anything. You packed on a couple pounds. You're 10, 20 pounds heavier than other people of your age. Is that really a big issue? No. 60 pounds overweight, now it's starting to cause some health issues. 100 pounds overweight. But the lowest I ever weighed was 220 pounds, and people thought I was dying. People thought I had cancer, because you could see my rib cage. I'm just a big guy. So I can never get down to 180, which is what you're supposed to be for my height. I mean, I could, but I basically would be a walking skeleton. It will come to a point where when you see someone, and I'm saying in the next 10 to 15 years, because these drugs are going to not only become so readily available, not only become so cheap, this is my prediction, when you see someone who is obese, 15 years from now, it will be seen as a statement. It will be, because it will be so readily available and so cheap, it will be seen as they choose to be that fat. And it could be construed as a political statement, could be construed as a hippie statement, like I don't put anything in my body that's not supposed to be there. It could be viewed as that person's anti-science statement. They don't trust the drug. They don't trust the science. But however we decide to view it, it will be viewed as an overt act. Now, the person may not take the shot because they're allergic to it. The person may not take the shot, or they may be on the shot, but it doesn't work for everybody. There could be a whole lot of reasons. Same thing during COVID. There could be people who go, I can't wear a mask. I have already breathing issues, and yes, I might get COVID, and that's bad. But I've gone to the doctor. He told me I shouldn't wear a mask or whatever it is. I shouldn't wash my hands. I never wash my hands. My doctor told me not to. I have a doctor's note. It's filthy. Even if a person had 100 legitimate reasons of why they weren't masked up, legit health reasons why they couldn't do it, if you saw the person walk into a store without a mask, it was seen as an overt act. Whether it was a political statement, a statement of defiance, you didn't know, right? They just walked in without a mask, and there could have been a legit reason why they could not wear a mask. They may agree with you politically, they just can't wear it. But that's not how people saw it. They saw it as an overt decision not to mask up. That's what it's going to be like. I really do feel that. I really do see that coming. And even more than that, there is more and more research being done on how the shot, these weight loss shots, if you talk to a doctor, most doctors will say, all it does is slow down your digestive process. The food sits in your stomach longer. You feel full for longer because you are full. There's food and it's not passing through so quickly. That's all that it does. But people on the drug say different. They say it is not just a physical thing. It changes my mentality as well. And there are studies that kind of back that up. There have been studies done, we've talked about it before on the show. People who take the shots for weight loss also find themselves losing their cravings or addictions for other things. Drug addicts finally being able to stay away from their drug of choice. Shopaholics. Gambling addicts. I think, and I'm not entirely for sure on this, but I think even alcoholics. I'll see if I can find an article for the show notes. But all these other addictions, because here's the thing. If you're 20 pounds overweight, you're 20 pounds overweight. There's 100 different ways how that could have happened. But when you're obese, there is a mental health component to it as well. And speaking as an obese man, I know that I don't do it all the time, but I have eaten even when I'm full. So it's not, even if you could slow down my digestive process, there has to be something else going on mentally to make me stop eating as much. If I'm at work and there's donuts in the break room, I can't. If I eat one, I'm going to eat 3. And there's not enough for everyone. There's not enough for everyone in the first place. So some employees don't get donuts because I've eaten their donuts and they've never figured it out. I'll buy a pizza. I'll eat some of it. Half of it. Really, if I gotta be honest, right? I get a medium pizza from Domino's and a Caesar salad. I eat half the pizza and the salad. I put the other half in the fridge. I go, I'll eat that later. But then I'm just distracted knowing that there's half a pizza in my fridge. The feeling is almost overwhelming until eventually I go, fine, I'll just eat the rest of the pizza now. I was going to save it for later. I'll just eat it now. Even though a half a pizza is inside of me, and now I've waited an hour or 2 hours, and I wanted to save it till, midnight because I was going to be up all night gaming or whatever. Now I'm eating the other half of the pizza. So there has to be a mental component for these drugs to clearly work, and they are working. You can see that through all the studies. You can also see studies where it seems to be affecting other types of addictions. I believe that these drugs will become such a course of life that when you go to AA or when you go to Narcotics Anonymous or Gambling Anonymous or whatever, they will say, listen, come to the meetings, chase the meetings like you chase the drug, come to these meetings every day, but also you need to start taking the shot. The cravings will go away. And they'll start using, especially in court-ordered rehab. The court will say, you're going to have to be medicated. Because it's like method. You go, Jason, that's we already have them like methadone clinics, right? It'll be the same thing. They are going to change society. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I've been on the weight loss drug now for 2.5 months. I'm 49. I got as heavy as 330 recently, which is, that's obese, right? It's not the heaviest I've ever been, but I talked to my doctor about it. I started taking the injections. For the first 2 months, I was on the lowest dose, the 2.5 milligrams. I did feel fuller, quicker, and for longer. I probably ate 25% less than I normally did. I take a shot on Friday. By Wednesday, I would start to feel normal level of hunger. It would start to wear off. And I just didn't feel myself being overwhelmed. That's the wrong word, but distracted with thoughts of food. But I didn't really think anything of it. I did lose weight. About a week and a half ago, I started on the 5 milligram dose, which is actually the therapeutic dose, is what they call it. The 2.5 is just to get your body adjusted so you can take the 5 milligram dose. Taking the 5 milligrams of Zepbound is easily the weirdest, most potent drug I've ever taken in my life. It's the weirdest thing. I don't think about food at all. I'm never hungry. When I know that I should eat something, I don't want to. There may be a faint biological hunger, but I don't want to. I'm pretty sure there has been more than one day in the past week and a half where I've simply forgotten to eat. I'll go to the grocery store. This happened twice in one day. I went to a grocery store, walked around for 20 minutes, and then left. I specifically went to the grocery store to find just something for dinner, but I didn't want anything. I have to be careful because if my doctor finds out how much weight I'm losing, so I don't even feel really comfortable saying it on the podcast because she knows about the podcast. I think she might be concerned enough to slow the medicine down. What I think I'm going to do is the next time I go in the doctor's office, I'm going to wear really bulky clothing to add a little bit of weight. Now, I don't think it's an insane amount of weight, but doctors. It's the weirdest drug I've ever taken. Now, I went to college and I had my fun there. I've taken my fair share of substances decades ago. I was the guy who would show up at a party and I wouldn't even know what I was taking type of guy. Didn't matter. But this is easily the weirdest drug that it has on the human mind. I don't think about food at all. There's no struggle. There's no wondering. Fascinating. It's a fascinating drug. I said when I was on the 2.5 milligram, I ate 25% less than I normally do. It's only been a week and a half on this drug. I have had no days where I started to get hungry. In fact, Sabine, my good friend who's watched me eat, we go out all the time, for the past 6-7 years almost at this point, I eat 25% of what I normally did. It's the opposite. I'll get a medium pizza, I'll eat 2 slices. I was then walking downtown with the rest of the pizza. There was some bum there, so I gave him some of the pizza. And then I took the rest, right? I'm all standing over him. I'm like, oh, look, it looks like you're pretty hungry. But I need some of that too. No, he just took some slices and we said goodbye and I took the rest of the pizza. And then I woke up the next morning and had 2 slices for breakfast because I had to take it with some medicine. And then I told Sabine, I go, I might do something you've never seen me do. I said, I might throw the rest of this pizza away. I didn't. I didn't. I'm not insane. I did take the pizza home and then a couple hours later had the rest of it, the last 3 slices for dinner. But I wasn't sitting there distracted at the fact that there was a pizza in my fridge. Walking through a grocery store, I compared it to if a normal person walked into a comic book store. There was no interest in comic books or really any of it. In fact, they are disinterested in comic books. They have no interest in the art or even seeing the action figures or anything. That's what it's like for me now to go into a grocery store. I walk out without buying stuff. Profound change. Not on the little dose. The little dose, I go, oh yeah, I can feel myself I can feel myself not hungry. I can feel myself fuller for longer. And I didn't think about food, but the food noise was still there. I'd still think about it. Now it's the opposite. Now I never think about it. And I have to remind myself, oh dude, you should eat something. Like just anything. One bagel. A banana. Some orange juice. Something. It's fascinating. We can talk all we want about articles I've read. Seeing how it affects me, people will start taking it more and more and more. I mean, it's almost foolproof. Here's the thing. You could out-eat the drug. You could, if you're dealing with some other mental health issues, if you're eating because you're bored, if you're eating because you're stressed out, eating because you're sad, I think these weight loss drugs can help overcome that. If you're eating because of past trauma, I think that is where people are going to have a harder time because you can force yourself to eat through it. Just like people who take methadone can still get high. I've known one or two people. Most people, methadone works really well for them, but I've known people who they were getting high for such deep wounds in their soul that were never addressed. It wasn't just about the chemical. It was about this past trauma. Those are going to be the people that these drugs aren't really going to work for. But seeing how it's affected me, how quickly and how profoundly, they are going to change society. They're going to be, listen, I think it's a great medicine and I use it. And if you choose to use it or not to use it, that's up to you. You're like, I don't need to use it, Jason. I'm not 330 pounds. Well, here's my thing. If you are struggling with it and you choose not to use it, that's your decision. I have no bad blood towards that. I'm totally all about, and I understand there's a million reasons why you may not want to take it, but eventually society will shift where people will not have a choice. And because being overweight and obese when 70% of the adults in America are overweight or obese, that's, huge numbers. Again, no pun intended, but shift that to 7%, 5%, 3% of Americans are overweight and obese, the attitudes around it will all change. So fascinating stuff. I've talked about the drug multiple times on the show. Now that I'm on it, I wanted to address it again. And if the effect was always like it was with those first 2 months where it was just like, yeah, I'm losing a little bit of weight here and there. It wasn't super crazy, but, cumulatively it has been. I don't want to announce on the podcast because, again, my doctor may listen to it. But mentally it wasn't a big change. At least I didn't sense it. But on this new version, on the normal dose, it's night and day. It's comparing a biplane to a F-18 fighter jet. It's like not even, they're both in the air. Fascinating stuff. And I really wanted to share that with you. That actually was on the docket to talk about. The next story that I want to talk about, I don't know, because honestly, before my computer went haywire, my days spent researching for whatever reason. I know why I was doing it. I was just trying to find, it was about snuff movies, right? I wasn't trying to find a snuff movie, but I had a story about a snuff film, and then I started researching snuff films, and then I was just depressed. It's like, why did I spend 3 hours reading about all of this stuff? So here's basically, I'm saying a lot of the other stuff I have is snuff related. I don't want to talk about snuff films all week. To be honest, I don't want to talk about them at all. But they are part of conspiracy culture and true crime culture and all of that stuff. But I don't know if I feel like doing a snuff story today. So let me turn to my computer and look. Like, again, I don't have access to so much of my stuff here, unfortunately. We got snuff films. We got snuff movies that I could talk about because a new snuff film has emerged that some people are calling the first authentic snuff movie. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. No. It's like, Jason, you obviously keep mentioning it. You spent a long time researching it. Let's talk about this. I think this is that's interesting, but I don't really want to talk about that either. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this one. Soupy Poopy Pants, I'm going to have you back for tomorrow's episode as well, because I like having the new Patreons on for 2 episodes. We're going to have you back for tomorrow's episode as well, but for now, which tomorrow's episode might be the snuff episode, but anyways, Soupy Poopy Pants, let's go ahead and toss you the keys of the world-famous Carpenter Copter. We're leaving the underground medical facility. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Mama's house? We're headed all the way out to Mom's house. Not my mom's house, but somebody's mom. The year is 1999. And we're about to meet 2 young men, boys, really. One of them we're going to call Tom. And then his younger brother, we'll call him Blake. And they live at home with their mom. And at this time, Tom was in high school. And Blake was younger than that. It's just them and their mom. But Mom gets sick. Hey, boys, come here. And Tom and Blake walk in the room, and Mom's all, like, sick, frail, and stuff like that. She's just sitting there. She goes, boys, I love you so much. I love you so much. And they're like, we love you too, Mom. And she's like, can I get a hug from both you boys? And they're like, yeah, sure. So they're all, nope. You sick. And I don't want to get whatever grody mom disease you have. They run away. No. Tom and Blake both hug their mom. I don't know if any of that happened. It's not in the notes. But listen, I'm sure they hug their mom at least once in their life. Maybe not at this particular moment. But I figured, we'll add a little sweet stuff. Maybe it's a lie, but I don't think so. I think this family really loved each other. I'm sure they hugged each other all the time. Mom gets sick. Mom goes to the hospital. That's actually what my notes say. Doesn't mention anything. She's like, if I have one lesson to tell each of you is... No, she just gets sick and she goes to the hospital. Well, so Mom's at the hospital. Grandma is at the house with Tom and Blake to take care of them while Mom is sick. Well, one night Tom is deep asleep when he has a dream. And in the dream, he's laying in bed in his bedroom, and his mom walks in. She walks over to him, looks down at her big boy, and she tucks him into bed. And she tells Tom, hey, Tommy, it's me, your mom. Remember that hug we shared? Oh, it was such a beautiful hug. All the hugs we shared, Tom. So much love. Every hug meant so much to me. I love you, Tom. I love you so much. But I died. She doesn't start laughing. She's like, and you have to stay alive, loser. No, she doesn't have this monologue about hugs either. Basically, she walks into the bedroom, tucks Tom in and looks at him and says, Tom, I love you so much, and I'm dead now. Actually, she said it in the reverse. She walked up to him and she tucked him in and said, I'm dead, but I just want to let you know that I loved you. I loved you so much. Which would probably, what would be more startling? If your mom said I died and then told you she loved you. Well, I mean, you're sobbing, you're like, they're both, none of them are startling. It's just sad. It's a sad story about a mom dying. I died, Tom, but I love you so much. I just want to let you know that I love you. Tommy. Tom hears his grandma waking him up. Tommy. Tom looks up at his grandma. Grandma looks down at him. She gives him a hug. The grandma looks down at Tom and goes, hey, Tom, I hate to tell you this, but I just got a call from the hospital. Your mom's dead. She died. And Tom just looked up at his grandmother and said, I know. And then rolled over and went back to sleep. Tom and Blake continued to live in the house after Mom died. I'm assuming grandma was nearby. He doesn't really say that grandma lived with them at this point. But, they're both underage. So this is going to get complicated at a certain point. But in the meantime, mom's passed away. Tom and Blake continue to live in the house. And he said, when he posted this online, he goes, we never really had any issues with the house. Paranormal issues, at least. Before mom passed away. But after she died, both him and Blake started to notice things. One thing was the bathroom faucet every so often would turn on full blast. Tends to happen, right? That is one thing that ghosts do. Turn on water, turn on faucets and things like that. There's the theory that ghosts use water to either energize themselves or to travel. The connection between ghosts and water goes back to antiquity. So it makes sense that in the modern day, turning on a faucet, it's weird because it's kind of inconvenient and startling to a human to have to understand. It's probably less scary than them turning the light off in the middle of the night or turning the light on in a room no one's in. But water does seem to be something that happens with just casual ghosts. Well, then things start to... That one could be explained through plumbing and stuff like that too. But then things get really weird. One day, Blake and Tom were at home, and this story took place in 1999, so they had an answering machine. And for all of you youngins out there, answering machines or what you guys call voicemail, and they were machines that are hooked up to the wall that you literally had a cassette tape inside of them when somebody called. I guess some of them started to have little digital readers, but the point is, you'd record a message, someone would call, much like your voicemail of today. They'd hear a little statement, and then you could leave your message. When it was a cassette tape, your message actually got recorded on the cassette. Well, anyways, he said, listen, after Mom, she was the original voice on the answer machine. Mom would be like, hey, everyone, it's Mom. I'm not your mom, but I'm these boys' moms. Leave a message after the beep, and I'll give you a big old hug. I'll give you all the hugs in the world. They had a new message. They re-recorded the message to be them. This is Tom, and this is Blake. Sorry we're not here right now. Our mom just died, and we're in mourning. But if you leave a message after the beep, we'll give you a hug. They re-recorded the message for themselves. Well, one day they were both at home. They're sitting in the kitchen eating when all of a sudden the answering machine turned on. Now, the phone hadn't rang, but the answering machine just turned on, and the message that played was the message left by their mother. The previous recording was then played out loud to both of them. They both heard it while they were sitting in the kitchen, which is where people used to keep their phones mostly, was in the kitchen, especially the one with the answering machine. And he says they sat there and they both heard, hi, it's Mom. I'm not your mom, but I'm these boys' mom. Leave a message after the beep. And they both are like, what the hell? The recording played in full and then beep, but there was no message left. They went over and went to replay it to hear that message again. And when they hit play, it just played out their new message. This is Tom, and this is Blake. Sorry we can't come to the phone right now. Our mom just died. We're in one. And he goes, we tried it multiple times. We can never get the old mom's message back. But it played clear as day for both of us. We can never figure out how it happened. But the most mysterious part of this, I think, both of those are paranormal activity for sure. But I thought this was very notable, very interesting. He said, listen, we had a cat. It was actually my mom's cat, but, we were the brothers. It was part of the family. She had a cat named Rudy, and she loved that cat. She loved that cat so much. It was this white cat that my mom doted on. Tom says one day he was sitting there, it was afternoon, just sitting there in the living room. Rudy is just sitting there in the middle of the room, and he starts purring. Tom looks at the cat. Tom's looking over at Rudy and sees Rudy's just purring. But then, look, he's really... Because, cats do all sorts of goofy stuff, but it was weird that this cat was just purring for apparently no reason. Tom's looking over and he notices that Rudy starts to push his head up. Push his head up in a very distinct way. Tom had seen Rudy do this before. Tom has seen dozens of cats do this before, and you've probably seen it too. It's the way a cat kind of lifts its head up when it's being petted on the top of the head. He's watching Rudy push its head against nothing. But it looks exactly like he would stand and how any cat would when someone was stroking the top of the cat's head. A loving touch from a deceased owner. That's how Tom took it. I mean, he goes, it looked like a ghost was petting Rudy, the ghost of my mother, petting her cat. It's beautiful in a way, really. It's interesting, she visited Tom in his dream. There's no mention of Blake having a similar dream. And it could be for a couple different reasons, and I don't think it's because the mom didn't love Blake. It's very possible that the mother did visit him in the dream, and he doesn't remember it. Like, a lot of people don't remember dreams at all. So I think some people are resistant, not because they're doing it on purpose, but some people just can't have that paranormal. I think everyone can train themselves to have paranormal abilities, like being able to see ghosts. Most people don't want them, obviously, because it's terrifying, but his brain just might not be trained or naturally balanced, or however you want to put it, for his mother to communicate with him. We've covered stories like this before on the show. I'm trying to remember the episode, but there was one where a guy, he barely knew this girl in high school, barely knew her, and she visited him in a dream. And when she died, he knew she was dead before he should have known. If I remember correctly, like the night she died, he had this dream of her where she came to him. I might be getting some of the details mixed up. We've covered a couple stories like that. Someone who has really no connection or just a very tenuous connection to someone, they see them in a dream or they have a vision of their death. And my theory was that was the only person that she knew, even though she barely knew him, who she could communicate with. Or maybe she didn't visit Blake, but I think she probably did. And I think that she probably visited her boys, and I think, how do you appear to a cat? How do you communicate your love to a cat? That even though you're dead, you still remain. Well, you can pet a cat. It's beautiful, really. Tom ended his story with this. He posted online underneath the name Ramshacked. He said, quote, "Unfortunately, my brother and I couldn't keep the house since we were barely out of high school. But I never experienced any paranormal stuff since leaving," unquote. So at this point, they were older, but, they couldn't afford the house or for whatever reason. Not much older. I graduated when I was 17. Just because you're out of high school doesn't mean you're a legal adult. So they had to leave the house. He goes, "I haven't experienced anything paranormal since," which is where the story takes a bit of a dark turn. It's very possible that Mom had said her goodbyes, and she saw her boys through a pretty dark time in their life, the loss of their mother, and she stayed around just exactly as long as she felt they needed her, keeping a watchful eye on them. But once she was fine that they were going to be able to make it on their own, she passed on to the other side. That's why he doesn't have any paranormal stories after that, because her ghost is no longer visiting them. That's the optimistic read on it. The darker side of it, and we've talked about this before on the show, is ghosts can haunt people. I have a story like that coming up, but it's very rare. Ghosts can haunt objects, And it's more common than haunting people, but it's still not super common. The most, not just what you see in the media, but really in real life, is ghost haunt locations. That seems to be the easiest thing they can latch onto. Haunting a china set, like, teacups and stuff like that, it does happen, but it's not very common. Not as common as a haunted house. There is this chance that the mom stayed behind to watch her boys, and then her boys leave, and now she's simply haunting a house. An empty house that will soon have a different family, people she doesn't know. And I think that is tragic. Because that is one of the trade-offs that comes when you die, right? You die and you want to stay behind, but the world continues to move on without you. I mean, yeah, your soul is here. It's kind of like when you're in college, for example, and you start off as a freshman and you're all the way up to a senior, and maybe you're doing a postgraduate thing. Let's ignore all that stuff, because I don't know how that works, but you're a freshman and you start with all of your freshman classmates and you go through those 4 years together, and now you're a senior. But you know what? You're going to just stick around at college for a little bit longer. They're like, are you getting a postgraduate? They go, I don't know what that is. I'm just going to take another English class. And then eventually you realize that you've been at that college for 7 years now, and you've watched multiple people you've become friends with just leave. And then you're at college for 10 years, the same college, and you start to notice a professor or two have retired. And kind of the landscape is changing a bit. And now you've been at that college for 20 years, and the dean has left. And half the campus is staffed with people that you don't know anything about, and they don't know you. Now multiply that by... Now you're a ghost. But even in those scenarios, you can still interact and make new friendships and say, you know what, I've taken enough English classes. I've literally taken every English class offered here. I'm going to go see what the theater department's up to, and you can forge new bonds with new groups of people. It's not a perfect analogy, because you can do that. With a ghost, you can't. They move on and you're stuck. You chose to stay there. And the world moved on without you, and you're still in that location. Then other families move in, and you outlast them too. And then another family, and then another family. And I think that's why haunted houses, they can carry kind of a bitter energy. You can have good ghosts haunt a house, sure. But even the best ghosts can start to become aggressive with all this change happening. She just wanted to stay behind to be with her boys. And now this is the fourth group of people who've lived in this house since she died. And she has no control. She just watches everyone move on. She might have even liked the first family or two, but it starts to get bitter. You start to haunt a house instead of just exist there. I hope it's the first option. I hope she moved on because she realized her boys were going to be good. They were going to grow up to be good young men and good adults and make good decisions. She raised those boys right, and so she then decided to pass over into paradise. But she could have been stuck in that house since 1999. A lonely ghost, slowly over time turning into a bitter spirit, until eventually a vengeful wraith, a darkness in the house, a loving mother, lost in the shadows. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.